2. Go! All right, so this is kicks on the ground, but you know, a lot of fights, most fights start standing up. So we're going to start standing up. We're going to do some stuff to get to the ground, and then we're going to stay on the ground. At any time, if you don't want to come back up, don't come back up. If you don't have a mat that's soft, then just stay on the ground, right? Because we want everybody to be really comfortable. All right. So what we're going to do. Okay. So if you have a mat behind you or something soft, just from standing here, you're going to take whichever foot you prefer, step up behind you, rock on one side, and then come up. When you come up, notice how my rear foot, see how I'm on the ball of the foot, and you use my quads to stand up, right? So instead of this, where the knee takes the pressure, you're standing up here and then just adjust your stance. Okay, so here we go. Right foot, left foot steps behind, rock. Turn your rear foot on the ball of the foot, come back up. We just do 2 or 3 on each side. And then 1 more, and then switch sides. And again, stay down if you don't want to come up. And then the other side. Step behind, rock. Come on the ball of the foot, using the quads. All right, 1 more. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to add a thrust kick. So you don't want to come all the way up. You can start right here, right? You're standing, you get thrown, you're going to rock. You're going to here, plant your foot, thrust kick. When you thrust kick, hips are off the ground. Okay? Let's just do it from here, not stand all the way up, because then it'll be more efficient. Okay? Here we are. Rock, plant the foot, thrust kick. Let's do about 3 to 4 of those, and we'll move on. This is just to kind of get the body warmed up. And kind of see how it would be if you were pushed or fell, and then switch sides.
And this, of course, is the 4 leading to a sacrifice throw.
Yep. We'll get to that when we do applications, and then switch, foot tucks. And now you're kicking with the other foot. And when I come up, I don't come straight up, I rock to the side, so I'm using these side stomach muscles. All right, so let's add up. So now, well, before we add up, you're going to come down as you land. You're going to land on one side or the other, straighten the bottom leg, side kick. Or as Osensei used to call it, beach kick. Then roll up. Roll down, kick, roll up. Real important, and you notice I didn't do it there, is you want to make sure you kick that bottom leg out before you side kick. So here, oh, you stay down. So here, can you turn this way? This is where the beach kick comes from. He hooks my foot, and as he hooks it, he's going to side kick with that one there. So that's why this bottom foot is really important to use as a 1 foot in, 1 foot out, right? It's like reaction hands position. So a couple more, and then other side. Rock up, rock down, land, straighten the leg, kick.
Now think about the lining of the hips and the shoulders and the kick.
So my hip, sorry, my shoulder, my hip, and now my heel are all in the same
So
line.
you don't want to look like this, like you're crooked.
Because the straighter the bones are lined up,
More power.
the stronger the body, the more power. One more. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to do, now we can spin it back. Oh, that's what we did. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to do side to side side kicks. Now the benefit of this is two things. Number one, the instructor can narrow in on when somebody's kicking on the ground, exactly how the center line's being attacked, right? And you'll see that sometimes it's easier with one kick than the other. The other side of it is for us doing it is that you don't have to be balanced. So it takes away the balance. The reps of the kicks, you can see how much power your body gets. So then when you stand up and do the kick, then it kind of clicks in. You know how to make sure your heel, your hip, and your foot or your shoulder in the same line, and you know what the power feels like.
And you can develop a lot of muscle memory from this without the complete effect of gravity pulling your whole body down. Gravity, in this case, you can actually leverage it easier than if you're standing.
All right, so here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna start, this is my right leg, and I'm gonna move out of the way in a minute.
Oh, yeah.
We're gonna turn, that leg's gonna stay straight, hit, kick, hit, kick. So if you don't wanna hit, right, because we don't always wanna be noisy, you can just turn, kick, you can add a hand. But for right now, let's hit for a few, then we'll do back fist for a few.
And you think about it, if you do a crossover side kick, this is the kind of an equivalent, because this roll right here she does, well, it's called barrel rolling, and that's the best way to move around on the ground. Move over real quickly, shift from left, shift from right, just a barrel roll away.
So let's do that together. Go to one side, land, kick. Go to one side, land, and as you kick, remember that heel, the knee, the hip are in the same line. And you can load up your hand just like you did a chop, all the way to the ear. All right, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna go silent. And so right now, notice how, if I were gonna get cut in half with a sword, this is my center line, right? My body splits in two. Right now, we're going off the center line because as we kick, my center line's here. So my point is we're not worrying about it right now. Imagine that you have two center lines. This one, and then when you roll, this one. So as you roll, you're gonna land horizontal back fist, or punch, or hammer fist, whatever your level is. So we're gonna land and kick almost simultaneously, just like pin on two, or punch, or spear. Okay, so go ahead, let's just rock back and forth.
You know how I'm pin on two, we do that in pin on four, we do the side kick with a back fist along with it.
And you can take your other hand from side to side as a
Whoa!
sliding block. Ooh, there's my knee. Do about 5 to 10. Get that rocking. Draw your navel in. Breathe out and strike. All right, good. Relax. All right, here's what I mean by the draw the navel in. So, let's say that, and there's many definitions for different people what the core of the body is, right, where the power is. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna say the core of the body connects the upper body with the legs. So all this, hips, shoulder, up to here. So drawing the navel slightly in tightens that core. When you kick, your legs are strong, your navel's in, you're breathing out. Okay, so we're gonna add on to that. And here's where the center line gets really interesting, because we're gonna stand our backs, and if we thrust kick, it's gonna go from my feet, my hips are up, into that center where I said you could cut me, right? If that was if I was gonna get cut in two. So here, what we're gonna do then is we're gonna take the roundhouse kick, this is my center line, and I'm gonna scoot back and kick through it. So let's look at that. Get on your left or right side, whatever you prefer. Sometimes it's wonky looking at it at Zoom. And we're just gonna do some roundhouse kicks. So here's my hip bone. Put your elbow on your hip bone and point your finger right in line with your shoulder. Your knees behind the hip. You're gonna rotate your hip and kick. Really strong leg so that you can kick really powerfully. And you might already do it, but I'm giving you a checklist. So here's my center line. My knee almost comes to the center line and I kick. Flat-footed or reaching with the ball of foot. Two ways to look at it. Do about 5 to 10. Then we're gonna switch. And then we're gonna challenge that center line we just worked on. So the center line means I'm going right through the side of my body. All right, switch sides if you haven't. Same thing. Now, the whole idea behind this rolling the hip, like if we had this class live, we would have a mitt for you, and you would roll that hip, and at the last second, boom, your leg goes. Roll that hip, boom, the leg goes. Because what that does is it's like a coil, and then at the last second, boom, it pops with power. So let the hip, then the foot. Really strong around your knees. You know, this is a lot of power for the leg. A few more. Good, okay. Any questions about the center line? And if you want to unmute yourself, that's fine. If you don't have like a lot of background noise and you want to stay unmuted, whatever you want to do. All right, so any questions about this center line? Whether it's here or here. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna double it, do two different kicks where here's my center line. I'm gonna scoot my hips back so that my next kick, which will be a roundhouse kick, is gonna come across it.
How many of y'all have ever taken jujitsu? Okay, in jujitsu, you have lots of little scoots that you do on the ground. Right, you gotta go around the body, go from point to point.
Jiu-jitsu, judo, anything, any kind of mat work.
Little scoots. When you're standing, very often the equivalent of that scoot is what we call a cat stance. You kind of might be here, you're engaged, you got a little turn there, a little turn back, little scoots. Or you could be attacking here, and then real quickly you scoot to the other leg. But the whole object is you don't lose the center line. On the ground, it's a little more difficult to hold the center line because the scoot gets a lot of friction from the ground.
Okay. So we're gonna actually use the same leg. We're gonna right kick or left kick, but you're gonna also right roundhouse. So if I'm gonna do right leg, I'm gonna scoot my hips to the right. So I'm hitting that same line. Then I'm gonna scoot back. So when you scoot, draw your navel in and pivot. And then draw your navel in, pivot back. Or just keep your navel drawn in.
And then you got to figure out when to do the scoot, because if you do it early, you can do it early and set up and go, but you can also do it just when you're ready to kick. Ooh, right before you kick, you scoot and let it fly.
So here you are, your thrust kick, you scoot back, and your hip goes, and then your roundhouse kick. All right, let's do the other side. So if the kick is above your level, we're going to try and explain it as detailed as possible. And it's okay to learn outside your level today because it's training camp.
And if you do this with a lot of oomph, do not be surprised if it pulls your pants off.
I thought he was going to say, don't be surprised if your legs are sore tomorrow.
Well, but it will literally, you'll stand up and realize, oh my God, my pants are falling down. Because you're scooting along, it's going to pull on your pants.
All right, so let's do the other side. So thrust kick. Scoot to the whatever side you're going to roundhouse kick from, and then scoot back.
Now I'm gonna give you a little trick. When you get really good at this, you don't actually have to scoot. You can learn how to still attack the center line proficiently without really scooting your body. But until you get good at doing that, you have to scoot because you got to learn how to attack that center line from a different angle.
All right, so 2 pointers. Number 1, when I thrust kick, my hips are off the ground. When I scoot out, I want my shoulder, bottom shoulder and top shoulder to be in line. As soon as I open like this to kick, I'm pulling my back into the process, which does not give us as much power as only giving it to the hips, okay? So think of that roundhouse kick is first a commitment to the side, and then the hip rolls, and then kicks.
Let's talk about the leverage real quick.
Okay.
So when you go for the roundhouse kick, you see how this foot's on the ground? Let's see, yeah. And she's using the corner of the ball of her foot. If you can grab the ground with that while you're projecting the roundhouse kick, you'll feel your hips starting to lift off the floor. That's when you're truly projecting the power of your hips. You don't have to force the hips to rise. Just throw the kick with the rotation, and the hips will rise if you give the bottom foot leverage.
Okay, and the reason that's important, and if it hurts your knee to turn your foot that much, don't turn it so much. But here's why it's important to use both legs. So when we thrust kick, if I'm thrust kicking my left, I'm really pushing into this leg, and it's not like this, it's in line with my hip. So my knee is in line with this hip here to give me that push, right? Because I might be here, but it might be here and then getting up. So I want to be able to leverage myself. The other thing is, I end up on the ground, and we're going to do an application in just a second. Whatever this leg is, that's like my non-kicking leg, has got to participate to grab, to push. So it's always a two-footed mechanism, right? We don't do a kick like this, just like we don't punch like this, right? We always punch with two hands. Think of there's always 2 feet, whether it's the leg just grabbing the ground or actually having this mechanism going out like that, like a side thrust kick.
Okay.
All right, first application. So for those of you that have a partner, you can try this out, but here's always the neon sign warning about kicks on the ground as applications. Because we're on the ground, and you might have noticed this already, you might have more power with whatever you do. When you have a partner, the littlest movement of your hip can do maximum damage to your partner. So that's the caution. Be real careful when you work with a partner.
That's when we get into a couple of these leg traps.
All right.
You're gonna feel well if you have a partner.
Since most fights start on the top, somehow we've engaged. I come flying down.
Bang! I lay her down. Boom!
He's coming in.
I go for the mount.
And I go, this is just a basic one.
Interference.
So here I pop his hip so he starts to come towards me. And all I'm gonna do is using my upper body, I'm not just gonna lay out here. I'm gonna take this, either this leg or like we did in this last one. Here's my hook, here's my roundhouse kick. But right now I'm using my shin, depending on how deep I am. Bam, in here.
Now take that same concept and put that knee inside my knee.
If I can get in there by maybe pulling myself in.
Now you get much stronger use because the leverage in your legs is much better up high.
And I don't know if you can see this back leg, but if I push on my right, coming this way,
take that.
I am gonna slam my foot that way as well. So his legs are gonna
She bounces into the front knee.
bam, bam,
And then she pushes in the back.
and then comes back.
Now that leg right there, if you get up this high, that's a nice shot, and that's pushing us to the bottom. And then she fires out and bounces off on the other leg. That's gonna cause me problems.
And all the time, the closer his head comes to me, the more I'm gonna try to reach it, right? Because it depends on how tall he is, how strong I am at that moment to try to go for a
You
choke.
see where you see where her forearm is? If she can get me rolling this way, and she goes up on me, and sticks that forearm into my carotid there, she chokes me out.
Let's do the other way.
So on my leg, she knees me inside the knee, bang, holds me up there, boom, and now I'm down, and she grabs hold there. I'm gonna go down soft here. And I go down, and she rolls up on me. She takes that forearm and has it, and she's being polite to me right now. And she just puts all her body weight into the forearm.
And I would roll on top of him, but now he's on the floor.
I might go for this, interfere with her, but she does it fast enough.
And then I have the other hand to snake on the other side.
It's a nice little choke. It's a quick little choke, actually. But if you're with someone who's a real experienced fighter, as you see in MMA, if they're real experienced, you could be into a bit of a grappling match.
Yeah, but the whole point is the worst place to be is on the ground, right? Because it gets real dangerous real fast. We can't run so fast. We can do back rolls, forward rolls to get out of there, log rolls, which we'll work on in a minute. But the whole idea is that if we're trapped like that, we want to use our powerful limbs, which is our legs.
If you listen to the people that announce, I don't watch a lot of MMA, but if you listen to people that announce those things, they'll talk about the advantage of getting them out. In other words, you're on top using gravity going down. But if you're on the bottom and you want to leverage gravity going up, you just have to now get into the training parts of this sets you up for getting there. Then you got to get with jujitsu people to understand how to actually use it really powerful.
Right, so we worked on the thrust kick, and you can substitute snap kick and make your own combinations. So this is just to sparkle you, right? Whatever combinations make sense to you, whatever level you're at, whatever applications, just remember to be careful with the applications. So now we're going to go on to a press and kick. So we're going to take it back a step, just so everybody, depending on rank, will know it. You're going to put your right leg out straight. You're kind of hanging out here, and your hands wherever they're comfortable. And you're going to take your kick, your other kick, and you're going to angle your foot. So we're hitting with this part of the foot. It's going to come up and over, kind of like you're crossing your leg. We're going to go to the mat in a second, and it goes to the shoulder, to the shoulder. And if that's too much of a stretch for your back, don't go so far. Okay. Now the other leg. Up and down. Up and across. Right. So the idea here is this. Let me turn 45 this way. So his foot as it comes out. See, I was hitting it with this. So he could take into my inner thigh. He could go into my head. And so what we're going to do right now is on the back, you're going to take that foot, comes out towards your shoulder, angle your foot, go all the way to your side, shoulder over shoulder, and come back. Foot comes out, and slam. So when you slam your foot, be careful. The knee's bent, and you're hitting with the bottom of the foot onto the ground. To there. So it goes up and down, up. And if this is too much of a stretch, do what you can. And then up and down. I'm going to add another thrust kick. You've probably seen it. Okay, so now the one when you're in this cross position, you're going to come onto your back. Your leg is out, striking with the outside of your foot, same position of the foot, and then put it down. Crescent kick, land flat footed, reverse crescent kick, and down. Crescent, land, reverse crescent, land. Crescent, land, reverse crescent, land. Now if you start speeding it up, reverse crescent, crescent, this is called a, if everybody, someone wasn't on mute, they'd say, butterfly kick. Butterfly kick, reverse crescent, crescent.
Oh, yeah.
The biggest takeaway from here is you're hitting with that reverse crescent when you're flat on your back, and you're flat on your back when you start the other crescent kick.
And if you recognize this and you're grappling and you got an arm in your hand or hand, you're up here, this can be the beginning of a nice arm bar, right? You can have arm bars where you get underneath your body, you come over their arm, and get it underneath your body, and pull up on it, fall into it. You can get up in here and just locking from inside. A powerful move for your legs. And if you get lucky, and someone's falling on you, and you can throw a really good crescent kick with your heel here, right into the side of their head, you might just knock them out.
Can you see us okay? Are we bright enough? Or are we too dark? Just looking at the screen.
You could be a little brighter, please.
Right? We're gonna have to.
We just put these new lights in.
Yeah, but we've never done it in this direction.
Is it because of the window?
Maybe, I don't know. Would that be brighter? Okay, thank you.
I gotta move.
After all that moving, and let me know if you have to move again. All right. So again, the crescent, puts flat, reverse crescent, you're on your back, and then you start the crescent on your back. So if you've done a butterfly kick before, you might find it a little easier on the ground. And again, we do the kicks on the ground to kind of prepare us, get us used to a kick, and the what if we end up on the floor. Now, please ignore the stuff in the corner. We're actually under construction.
Or they're remodeling.
Okay. Any questions about the crescent, reverse crescent?
Okay, now,
Wait, John has, do
oh, what?
you have a question, John? Joe? Okay,
Okay, so the most important thing you can do here is that when you're working out in the dojo with a classmate, when you're doing applications of this nature, and you start looking at, well, what would I do here? This is where you can say, wow, we don't know jujitsu. This is where you can play with it. Just like if she started to do a crescent kick, and it just so happens I just laid her down, I threw her down, and I went to drop her with a punch, and she comes with that crescent kick right there.
but then again, my other leg's active and I might have to figure out how to use it.
And then I'll show you very simply, if she takes my arm, drop this. She gets my arm, and now she kicks into my leg here, and then she brings it over and she rolls with me. And as she rolls up under my arm. Just like that, no, just let the leg over, yeah, bring it over. And now she rolls over on my arm, roll. And right here, if I'm not careful, she's no arm, but right now, okay, yeah. So, we're not so good at it on the ground anymore, we're in our 60s, but.
And it's also because we're on the floor.
Well, yeah, so when you play with this with your classmates, really be careful, because what she just did, all she had to do was lose control for a minute and let her weight drop. And she would have at least hyperextended my arm, if not snapped it.
Which goes back to the neon sign.
There's a lot of power in here, just like here. Oh, well,
You had a question? No?
I was wondering what you do with your hands during the crescent kick.
So that's a good question. So if we're just doing the kick for just focusing on the power, you wouldn't add the hands, but if you want to add hands, you can think about what hands would make sense to you, right? You could say, okay, well, with a crescent, I might want to do the crescent, and depending on the rank, use this hand as a soft style with a pop of a back fist or whatever, or you could just do the foot coming here with an inner chop, with a spear hand. You could make this initiate the technique with any kind of block, right? Bam, following up with a grab.
especially if you have a classmate, like going down on one knee and going for an attack inside on you, and as it started, I might go right here with a crane, okay?
And that's a really good question, because if I were gonna attack him, I might not wanna attack him right here where his legs are. I might wanna come from the side, and as I reach here,
They start coming down here, and you just take a hold right there. I can go for the head, I can go for the back leg, try to kick it out, I can go into the rib, or I can do a lot of things. I can literally go overhead, come back this way, hook under, drive this leg up as hard as I can, and then twist real fast this way. But
and you can see where if you're not cautious of that, you can really. use
to
your
your
power.
question, her hand comes down, I got a crane here, other hand comes down, maybe, I might think of just pushing the hand aside and come back with a chop. You might think of anything you can by your partner. Now, if she puts her knee down on my rib and starts trying to mess with me here, now I've got to think, you gotta think about something here. You say, so what is my crescent kick gonna do for me now? This leg is trapped. If I get the right roll and I can push her body that way, then I can make the kick in from there. Who knows? Does that
So-
help?
But what you can do is, you can look at like the ranks from your level, a little below, a little above, depending on what you're working on, and just give it a try, because, you might discover something that you want to share with us next year, whenever we see each other. So what we're telling you is not a box. Any combination you can come up with, if it makes sense to you, you probably have an application, excellent.
But if you learn something in a jujitsu class and you don't share it with us, and we find out you've been learning stuff in jujitsu and you didn't share it with us,
We'd be
we're gonna
bummed
get
out.
pissed off at you, man.
Bummed out.
Because, we're not in a jujitsu class. Our last jujitsu classes were, oh my God, 20 years ago. But we get on the mat and we start playing with it, you see them quickly. But anyways, the hands start becoming very easy to understand when you have a partner to work with.
Yeah, and the whole thing about these is, it's always to me more fun when you have if you're in the same class, because you would have a partner, is communicate. Not only, let's say I throw him down, he's on his back, he goes to throw that reverse crescent, he's way out here. My communication might be like, scoot in.
It's not
And that's
strong
where he
enough.
draws his navel and he gives a little scoop, right? So we're building up our stomach.
So this right here is not anywhere near as strong as this right here, and let that hit the back leg.
And because of our size difference, here, come this way. So I can see what it's a little bit dark.
What? Oh. Ah!
Okay, I think that might be better. Okay, so as he comes here and he comes in deep, you see how imbalanced I am? Because his leg is longer than mine is to his, so he's gonna imbalance me quicker. And so from here, he can use his stomach muscles to pull up and grab me. And then he's using, so he started to choke me, he's using his weight or me as his pulley for using me to help him with his
I
application.
can lift, I can kick the leg out right there. If I get into class, I'm right on her carotid right now.
Yeah, I can feel that.
So at the same time, if you try to take someone down here, and they're a strong person, this is not strong.
And then I can run.
This is much stronger. And this, if you're way up in here with the bib of your thigh, that's right next to your power zone.
And then the other thing is he can take me down from here.
Mhm.
Because you know how we talk about chi sao with the hands? It's chi sao with any part of the body.
Thick with it.
When you touch a body with a body part, one of your body parts, then you're gonna feel where that move is happening. He can feel me moving and accommodate his body so that I do go over.
Watch your face. If I want to, I can come all the way through here, get right here, the inside of the knee, and then this kicks in, this kicks through, and I scissor her.
So I can do a front drop, great on a demo, or he can go the other way where he rolls onto his stomach. And then, well, that doesn't always work.
Well, if we're here and I'm taking a mistake, and I keep rolling, I like it right, I roll fast. So you go right through this point, and now I'm coming up into her leg. This is
Then I
going
go
behind the
that
leg,
way,
it's going the other way.
yeah, into probably the back of my head.
Now, if she's a very experienced fighter on the ground, there's a lot of counters in there, but you know what counters a counter really well? Good timing.
And speed.
If you have good timing and speed, counterattacks are much more difficult to throw on you. Okay,
All right, so with that in mind,
let's do a triple kick.
yeah, put it into the long roll.
All right, moving on the ground.
Cross, roundhouse, crescent, scissors. Okay, before we do that, what we're gonna do now is we're gonna do, so we did the thrust, we did the crescent, roundhouse, remember these? Now we're gonna do scissor. So pick your favorite side, put the top leg in front of your body, the bottom leg around, and what you're gonna do is scissor. So that means you're gonna kick with the leg, heel of the leg going back, and roundhouse kick with the leg going forward.
Whoa, is that you?
That was me. And then heel with the one leg coming back. And it doesn't have to be wide, it just be comfortable and do it while you feel square to the point and feel strong. Like if I don't feel strong when my leg's too wide, I'm gonna shorten it, because I want more power.
So think less in here and think more from your thighs.
Yeah, the more the leg, the more powerful it is.
Use your whole leg. If you're trying to just use from knee down, you're flipping around, you better hope you're dealing with a 10-year-old.
And then switch, do about 5 to 10 on the other side, scissor kick. Now you probably see why it looks like a scissor, so it's called scissor kick.
And I think Mr. Ambrosini up there might have seen back in the day in the dojo when I was working out on combat form for a test, how many of these I did working out. It'd be about 10,000, literally. Scissors kicks.
There you go. So it's 2 legs, one going back has as much power as the other one coming forward and vice versa when they switch.
So you can think about it as like a heel roundhouse kick. You can also think about it as a back of the thigh, top of the quad kick. If my leg is sitting in between your thighs and you rip this hard, depending on where you're at on my leg, if one leg is like at the knee level, you're gonna dominate my leg. If you're doing it from the foot level, depends on whether you got enough going on, because if I'm a big, strong-legged person, you doing a scissors with your feet, you're gonna break your foot.
All right, so we're gonna take a minute to start a philosophy that we wanna teach you by the end, or to discuss by the end, because a lot of you might already know it. So if you're comfortable, can you go off beat? Because this way you can get feedback.
So when you're teaching, if you don't have a habit of teaching a philosophy while you're teaching, get in the habit. Our sensei was Sensei Dong. Never did we ever take a class with him when he didn't talk a philosophy.
And any classes you've ever taken with Grandmaster Quinn, you'll notice that he also talks philosophy a lot. You can stay seated or whatever, but if you want to go off mute. So anyway, this is the 10 Nesses of leadership. And what we're going to do is just cover the first 3. So anybody can be a leader. It doesn't have to be the instructor in the school, although they're probably a leader, right? That's what we all work towards. You can be a leader in any part of your life, whether it's school, whether it's a relationship in the sense that you're co-leaders, right? The whole point is to address it from a point of view of these 10 Nesses. So the first one is fitness. So
Be in shape.
right, be in shape physically and mentally. Well, how do we get in shape physically? Everybody probably has some cross training, Kung Nu's a part of. You might run, you might walk, you might swim for your cardio, elliptical, and it goes on, skating.
Let's add a caveat in there. You say, well, what if I'm kind of disabled? I can't. You be the fitness that you're capable of being. So if you're disabled real badly, but you do everything you can to be in the best you can be in a way, that's a good example. It doesn't mean like, well, I can't run a 4-minute mile anymore. But you know what? You walk a good 45-minute mile.
So then the other thing is, it's also fit mentally, positive thinking. You know, talk to someone if you know you find that you're not as positive as you'd like to be. Read the books, hit the internet. Okay, so that's fitness.
Read the book.
Oh, Sensei used to say, hit the books.
Hit the books.
Now, of course, it's like hit social media.
Hit the internet.
Okay, and then the other thing, the second one is wellness. And so wellness kind of takes fitness and adds to it from the perspective of more of a harmonious balance, right? So the difference between, I should say, harmony versus balance. Balance, you have like a scale that's always kind of teetering. Harmony is that things kind of mesh together a little bit so that it doesn't matter if things go up and down, they still just kind of, they're harmonious.
They work. They work.
All right, so we have fitness, wellness. The third one is assertiveness. And so a leader is somebody who, assertive is not in the negative connotation. It's not like, hey, do this. Assertiveness is more, you know, let's talk about this. I want you to know this is how this is affecting me. Maybe let's have this communication. If there's a lot of students in your school, we need to make sure this communication is from a perspective of no ambiguity.
One of the things you can notice, you got a white belt or a person teaching for the very first time versus a person that's taught 10,000 times. You'll notice the assertiveness of the direction that they give you during class. It's not
They might
wishy-washy.
need to find their voice,
Yes.
right? So assertive is and why is it important if you're teaching or working on stuff with other students? Is because this way nobody gets hurt, right? Because everybody knows there's a boundary from it's kind of like sparring. We always talk about what targets are acceptable, which are not. Like you don't want to hit the temple because somebody can get really hurt. We don't go for the knees. So in that sense, we're being assertive that we make sure people hit that. I mean, don't hit that, right? And if you somebody that, hey, watch out, remember that that's not a target. Okay. Fitness, wellness, assertiveness. Let's go back to kicking.
We'll go on to the next ones.
There's 10 of them. So that's why we're going to stop, do a few, stop, do a few. And maybe at the end, everybody can come off mute and we can philosophize, which just means talk about it. All right. So now we're going to you're going to come back sitting up. You're going to rock back. You're going to thrust kick, scoop, same leg roundhouse kick, scoot back, crescent kick, reverse crescent kick, and then come back up. And again, come rolling on one side or the other to work the side muscles, not so much the spine. So you're going to rock down. One leg, the leg A, thrust kicks, leg A, leg A, roundhouse kicks. Leg B, scoot back, crescent, reverse crescent, and then roll back up. So rock, thrust, roundhouse, crescent, reverse crescent, rock back up. Here we go. Thrust, scoot, roundhouse, scoot back, crescent, reverse crescent, rock back up. And then rock the other leg, thrust, round, scoot, crescent, reverse crescent, and rock back up. So remember, whenever you roundhouse kick, you're on that side, whole upper body's committed. So we don't want to be partially on the ground. So give yourself some time. If you're going too fast, give a count.
If nothing else, if someone is standing up above you, turn your legs into a weapon they have to deal with. No matter what, make them work and don't let them in.
Okay, so we're doing the other side still. So crescent, same leg roundhouse, scoot back, crescent, reverse. And I meant to say thrust roundhouse, I'm sorry. Come back up. Go back down, thrust, roundhouse, crescent, reverse crescent. Come back up. Let's do one more. Whichever side you want. Okay, so here's the application. This is the, you're doing it to, I'm doing it to you. Rest is coming. Somehow he's throwing me down, bam. And as he's coming down, I'm thrust kicking. But look at my other leg. I immediately wrap. I want to know what his body's doing and I want to control it.
So on the throw down, I basically threw it and I saw an advantage that I was going to jump straight in for the mount. I wasn't going to go to the side. I went right into the mount and she caught me flush.
Now there's two things I can do. I can take that momentum as I've gone down and I could have.
Sacrifice slowly.
Right. So as I was going down, I would have done the same
She wouldn't have
thing.
hooked that to come right up underneath.
Right, but I might have come up. I might have come up on the side as your turn. Okay, I might have come up here to throw them that way
And
versus this way and maybe flop them right on me.
Straight
It
over.
just depends on how my leg strength is. So, but in this case, I'm hooking here, and then from here, the same leg, I'm gonna scoot in and roundhouse kick him, right? And he starts to go the other way because he's reacting to it. And as he does, here's where I'm going to take him down like we saw before to hit the leg. But my back leg is hooked under his to pull it because he's got too much strength over me. I'm gonna use my whole body.
so she's right here and she goes into a hard roll right
I
now.
can smack him in the ribs and then come up.
If she rolls hard, I gotta do something or she's gonna break my arm when we get down the bottom.
And then the other thing is he starts to fight that way, here's where my reverse crescent can come into his head. And as I'm pushing that way, I've got this leg to kick up and attempt to get him there.
And now she slides this across my face and maybe scrapes my nose real politely. Right across my face, this foot flies up to the back of my head and she locks in here and she continues rolling that way.
Right.
And control me.
And if I take him down really hard here, his face smashes, which is not nice, right?
Now the
To
first
really
thing,
do damage, or I throw him and then I backward roll and get out.
and the first thing a 250-pound MMA fighter is gonna say to you is at that point, when she goes to do the head throw, they're gonna stand straight up and lift you up by your pants and drive your head into the ground. And you're gonna realize, shouldn't have gone there.
Yeah, except for the fact that it's like Lynette asked. When she said, what do you do with your hands? If someone picks you up, you start scrambling,
Anything.
climb up and use your hands to grab on so that you're more closely like this.
If you wanna go into a head scissors takedown, your timing better be good.
So, it's like anything, self-defense.
Yep.
We never know how it's gonna turn out, right? We don't know what somebody else who we're defending against knows. We just have to use our training.
So let's use the 5 to begin with and avoid that whole situation.
Right, and so the whole thing is, right, awareness, alertness, but then the other thing is, that's why we practice being precise. We practice precision because
It could count.
not only to give us a self-defense situation we can get out of, but not to over damage whoever attacks us. Okay. All right, any questions?
Does that make sense to you? Okay, we're trying to add in the caveats, but the whole thing is doing these exercises to strengthen your legs kicking. Whereas doing it from the standing up is nice, but you gotta fight gravity. You get more leverage from the ground from gravity. Gravity can do two things to you. It can pull you down or it can lift you up.
All right, so since not everybody has a partner, you're not done yet, stand up. You're gonna be on the ground doing what I'm doing. And you're gonna imagine that you have an attacker above you, just like someone like Master Robert. So lay down. Imagine, here you come on the ground. Put that right leg between you and your attacker.
Get it in the way.
That's right. And so we're gonna use the opposite, or we're gonna use the opposite leg. You can kind of just think of it as a hook pulling in. Then you're gonna take that same right leg, scoot it between, and roundhouse knee kick that first leg. Okay, let's do that again.
Thrust kick?
We're gonna build up to the application. So using your imagination, he throws down. The first thing we do is we pull this rear heel in as we thrust kick that right leg out. Roundhouse knee kick it. The opponent starts to pull the other way. Here comes our crescent kick into their ribs. As we take that first right knee and roundhouse knee kick out the other way into the other leg, taking that crescent kick to the ribs. Now,
Or the elbow.
I can pull myself up here as I go up, right? Boom. And now as I take him down with my leg here, I can use that other leg. If I can pull him on the ground, and let's go back up and do it again. All right, here we go. Right thrust kick, leg out.
Nobody's kicking.
Wait, you're supposed to be doing what I'm doing. Sorry, I thought I made it clear. Okay, so right leg thrusts, other leg hooks in. Right leg roundhouse knee kicks as you rock to the other side. Good. Other way. As your right leg reverse kicks the other way, kick the other ribs.
So just knocking the legs back and forth.
Now let's do it one more time.
Okay. Go ahead.
Okay, thrust kick. Hook the leg in. Take that right leg, reverse crescent kick. Crescent kick to the ribs. Bam. Or the outside of the leg, wherever you can reach.
Okay. Her reverse crescent kick is actually hitting me with her shin, not with her foot.
Yep, and I actually hook behind him just for leverage.
So we should point that out. This could easily turn into a shin kick versus a foot kick. So this little crescent kick here could be with the foot, could also be with the shin right
Yeah,
here.
and so the idea of doing that
Roundhouse kick,
was,
shin.
since not everybody has a partner, just to kind of get the visualization going, because one of the hardest things to do on Zoom is to teach applications, right? That and self-defense.
So let's look at how we would do that. Thrust kick. Kind of a little roundhouse kick there that hooks the leg. Then this one here is going to quickly shoot over the knee kick. It's going to shoot back with a knee kick and another roundhouse kick or crescent. Kind of seems wonky, right? So you're here, one, and then you kind of throw a little hook, and then you go kick, kick, kick. And you're just feeling yourself right here. Here's the power. It's this roll. Just throwing your weight into a roll.
So think of it as a right front kick, left heel pulls in. Then the right foot is that reverse crescent we've worked on, as the other foot crescent kicks. Almost like you're doing that butterfly.
And that's where it gets busy.
Okay, all right. So let's, we're gonna do more rolls. Yep.
Okay.
All right. So we're gonna move on to a heel kick.
If that got complicated, we just wanted to show you it could go somewhere. But yeah, so it might seem a little complicated, but if you play with it, you'll see it in time. You'll go, oh, I see how I can use my knee versus my shin versus my foot.
Okay, and again, this kind of stuff, if you're in a demo and you're the one who is doing the demo, and you have your ukes throw you on the ground, you can do a little ground kicks on the ground to get back up and to throw your opponent out. And that's pretty much what a sacrifice throw is. It's just a kick on the ground. All right, So we're gonna do a heel kick, log roll, and then we're gonna show you a wheel kick. All right, so we're back to that center line principle, right? But on the side, like we looked at with the roundhouse kick. So here's my center line, goes from my heel, my shoulder to my hip to my heel. And the way the heel kick operates is it's gonna be parallel to the ground, your foot. It's gonna come out 45 degrees, 14 degrees, come back, and as it comes back, you're gonna hook and put your feet on the ground. The reason we put both feet on the ground is for power. So let's do it again, same side, left, out, hook, on the ground. My hips are a little bit off the ground, so I'm drawing that angle in. So out in front, hook, and on the ground. Good. And you want your feet inside your hips or in line with your hips. You don't want them splayed out. And that's all for stability of the body. More stable, the more power. Let's do 5 to 10 each side, and then we'll switch. Couple more, and then we'll go to the other side. Notice how you want to push your feet into the ground. Right, other side. So the foot comes 14 degrees out, hooks behind, boom. And when you hook behind, think of it hooking to the back of the thigh, and then you fold.
Why is it 14 degree and not 15 degree?
So, Sensei always said 14 degrees. And one time,
It says arbitrary saying 15 degrees.
and so I asked Master too. You know, I wish I had asked your father a long time ago, why 14 and not 15? Because he was a scientist and so forth. She goes, because we're Vietnamese. We love even numbers. And I went, okay. All right, here we go. A couple more on the other side where you're hooking. And the whole idea is, if you can feel the power and you work kicks on the ground, when you do your kick up and down the floor or in a kata,
Or hit a mitt.
you should feel a lot more power.
You give it your classmate and do all these kicks to a mitt. You'll start to develop power. And about a couple of weeks into working this to some mitts, your power will completely change. It will threshold to another level, guaranteed.
Which you might already be doing. But
You might already.
any kata I've ever done, whether it was, you know, after getting my black belt, I always did it kicks on the ground so that I can kind of check in. Is it powerful? Is it on the center line? And then go to stand up and do it in the kata. All right.
We're coming up on the wheel kick.
All right. So, yeah. So, all right, before we get to the wheel kick, can you all come off mute? So we can do a little philosophy. You know, Hung Nu has all these philosophies, right? And in one of the seminars a long time ago, Sensei said, you know, my legacy is not these techniques. My legacy is going to be the philosophy. And so that's why I'm asking you to come off a mute. Sensei, Grandmaster Quinn always covered philosophy. And it's a way for us to get to know each other, right? Through a little bit of talking. What does it take to be a philosopher? You talk about the philosophies, okay? So we said these are the 10 S's of leadership. Anybody remember what the first one was?
Fitness.
Got it. Fitness. Number 2.
Wellness.
Wellness. Number 3.
Assertiveness.
Assertiveness. Very good. So the next one is openness. So here you're assertive, right? And now you want to be open, because when we give information out, we want to be open to the fact that, number one, it might be misunderstood or someone needs to ask about it or whatever. So,
Or updated.
right. Or update it. And then the next one following openness is fairness. And so we can be assertive, we can be open, but we always want to be fair. Every student, regardless of, you know, sometimes what's interesting is that if a student struggles more than another, one student more than another, a lot of times a student who struggles more gets more attention. And so that's one of the things Grandmaster Quinn used to talk about, is that You want to be sure that everybody gets.
Balance it.
Yeah, and it doesn't mean that you're not gonna help someone struggling, I'm not saying that, but we always wanna make sure that when we're always fair, how we treat each other and how we work together.
And it's a much, you get with an assertive person that's open and fair. You might have been around an assertive person that's not so open and not so fair. It's just not a conducive atmosphere to be in. So the openness and fairness makes the assertiveness very strong versus someone that's kind of not really balanced in what they're doing with the student, but they're fairly assertive. But the three together are powerful.
And we'll do one more of the 10 and then we'll go on. And so the next one is, somebody know it? Starts with a D. Directness. So being direct is there's no vagueness, there's no ambiguity. And so the reason that's important is so that, you know, we think about in martial arts, if we're kind of iffy on how we're teaching something, somebody can get hurt, right? We want to be direct. Here's what's expected. Again, none of this is any harsh words. It's just making sure that if you have a class of anywhere from more than 10 people, right? 5 people, you want to make sure that everybody understands the direction we're going in.
Especially if you start a reps and there's a person in the class that's not doing the same rep. We've all had that. You've been an instructor, you've had the student that doesn't. So you need to not be afraid. You know, you don't stand there and watch them do the wrong rep for 20 times. You let a couple reps go and you correct one person, correct the next, and you work your way right back to that student, and then you correct them right there and then. But you don't yell from this side of the room, hey you ain't doing it right. Your directness, you just reposition yourself and make your directness right in front of them.
Because everybody learns differently. Some people are visual, some people are here, and some people need an example right next to them, right? They can watch in front or they need you beside them. All right, so number 1 was fitness.
Fitness,
Number 2,
wellness,
Wellness.
very good. Number 3 starts with an A.
Assertiveness.
Very good. Number 4,
Openness.
openness. Good. Number 5,
Fairness.
fairness. Very good. Number 6,
Directness.
directness. Excellent.
And I'm proud to say that I was working out in the dojo the day Setsadong first introduced this to the style as his new philosophy. We were there when he was building 90% of them. About 10% of them already existed when we started in the early 80s. But
All right. Very good. So let's carry on. Oh, does anyone want a water break? You want to get a quick drink?
no.
No? Okay. All right. All right, so here we go. So we're going to go on to the wheel kick. So the wheel kick is a spinning heel kick. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to do some log rolls.
And the wheel kick is where you will lose your center line if you don't work on it.
Yeah, it gets tricky. So here's what we're going to do. I'll do it this way and then I'll face you. You're going to come up on fingertip to elbow and onto the ball of the feet. And you want to make sure your stomach doesn't hit the ground. So we're going to come down, log roll, look, come back up.
Anytime you roll on your stomach, if you can keep your stomach off the ground, that's important because you can take something sticking you in the back a little better than something impaling you in the
And then
stomach.
you're gonna look the opposite direction, run, roll, come back up. Do like 5 one way, 5 the other way.
You can roll really fast and get that stomach off the ground when you're crossing over it. That really makes a difference. Now imagine if you did 3 of these in a row and the last one went right into a set of legs that have surrounded you.
So for example, he comes in.
She's there, my buddy's about to kick her in the stomach. So instead she rolls away from him, I go, hey, and she rolls right into my leg and catches it just right and straightens it out and pops. Maybe. Or she just rolls this way, and as she comes, I bring my foot up, she rolls back the other way. Can you tell me a faster way for her to move? Back rolling up out of it, maybe. But if you start rolling around, you can buy yourself a second or two maybe, but it is a form. You know, if you were up, you run this way, or run, what are you gonna do to me? It's the same thing as rolling on the ground.
All right, so let's add in. So it's basically, we're gonna add in that heel kick. So we're gonna do it in stages. So we're gonna start the roll, and as soon as we hit on the side of our body, we're gonna load up for that heel kick, hit it, go to our back like we did before, and then roll up. Then we roll the other way. As soon as you hit the side, you're ready to go, you come up and roll.
This is the heel, not the wheel.
Yeah, we'll get to the wheel in a minute. So there's always gonna be that pause, so you hit that center line before you go up.
Now, if you really leverage the ground here, that twisting of your hip can really buy you a couple of inches up in the air. So when you come over here and you hit this point here, and as you start to load up, this is okay. But if you push off nicely, you can get up really good.
All right, try that. So you can go slow, heel, and roll. Roll, load that knee deep for the heel, rock it back, and come back up. And if your feet are facing this way, it's easier to see.
And then you can imagine this just where you go. Roll to the left, roll to the right. You might rock back and forth and suddenly, boom, take a shot out. Because you don't know, you oh, and then it real quickly comes out.
All right, do a few. I'd like to watch. Yep, and if your feet are this way, UF folks, it's easier to see.
Now, if you get someone holding a mitt for you, you'll find your targeting and you'll find your power. And you'll see that once you work on it with a mitt, your power will increase quickly.
Keep going, keep going.
Jay, you all right out there?
So you gotta be patient to land that kick and then roll so that it hits the center line. So you're on your side. When you go to your side, your knee's deep.
Now, what I see some of y'all missing is that you're throwing your leg, but you're not using the heel kick mechanism that well. That's what you gotta discover, right?
So it comes from a chamber, hits back here, roll and roll.
Part of that little roll, you have to find that extension in the pop along with the roll. But you gotta find that. That's not always so easy to get. So, let's real quick, before we go to the wheel clean, let's go ahead and turn that into a wheel roundhouse. Okay, so now you come over. I jostle back and forth with someone's right here. I come over, I throw this, and I throw that. I come back, as I turn, I reach here. Maybe I come over the way over. All right,
So it's almost like a butterfly kick, except you're doing a heel roundhouse. Let's slow it down. So you're on your side, you reach out that 14 degrees. As it pulls behind you, you roll, direct, leave that rear leg behind, and then roundhouse kick. Because remember how we have it behind the hip, through the hip, then 14 degrees, hook it, roll back, leave that knee behind, boom.
now, if you can see my legs, my heel kick hits where I have my opponent. As I come through, my roundhouse kick is going to hit a little bit behind me because that's my center line over here because that's where my opponent's at. I don't worry so much about scooping and getting in line. I'm just looking to rip it and rip it. So I have to learn how to hit the same spot even though my body turned away.
Because if you go past the center line, you're just flicking your legs. You
Just
want
gonna
that
flick.
whole hip involved.
So you're gonna have to adjust so that if someone's holding a mitt, the first one hits, the second one hits. You gotta figure out how to adjust the kick to get two power zones while you're twisting.
Heel, roundhouse, heel.
Okay, now the wheel.
Any questions on that?
I threw this kick once on a wrestler just messing around. It really works well.
All right.
The next one I'm talking about. So you're gonna turn here, and as you come out of the roll, you're gonna rip.
Okay, so I'm here, I'm gonna roll,
Get one full rotation in,
roll,
and now she rips it right there. Boom.
and then coming back,
She can throw it now if she wants,
But then it would be more of a heel kick.
and then boom, takes it hard. So she gets some momentum going with her body, then uses that will be the other leg. Yeah. And yeah. And now you're just discovering how to move around the floor and let some kicks rip out while you're moving rapidly back and forth. And I don't care if someone says, what is that? What's that going to do for you? I'll tell you what it's going to do for you. The worst thing you want to do is get brought down to the ground and you get brought down and you go, oh, please, don't. Start moving. Start moving.
Give that a try. So you're just rolling a little bit more to get back and then add that heel kick. And then we're gonna do some, we're gonna add hands and show you some kicks and hands.
I want to give a shout out here to Joe. Joe, you're getting this done, and you're in such confined spaces, and it is just what an effort. You're getting it done in there, dude.
I'm trying. What you guys actually can't see is just past this door. I've got a heater and a TV stand, so I'm having to pull back all these kicks and these things.
Just watching,
That's good awareness.
just watching me though, I'm like, man, I can think of people that be like, man, I ain't got the room to do this. I ain't doing it, but you're getting it done, dude. That's great.
Thank you. I'm in, as I said, I'm an evergreen dojo. I imagine if you want to talk to Sensei Joshua, he could probably tell you many entertaining stories for him watching me because
Sensei Joshua would not make it in the space you're working out in right now.
no, he would not. He's been to this space, yes. Thank you.
All right, so are there any questions up to this point? Because what we're gonna do now is some kicks with hands, but we wanna make sure you're good with that.
This isn't our normal workout because, yeah, I saw. If this is our normal class, we would do a lot of reps with takedowns. You would be taking people down, and it would actually be a little bit dangerous. Now I'm going to show you a leg trap in a minute after this question. What do you got there? Oh, it's Rosario.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, you're on mute.
Can't hear you. Can't
There we
hear
go.
you.
I got it now. So when I'm barrel rolling, I noticed I'm like moving, turning, not staying straight. And next thing you know, I'm off at an angle after the barrel roll.
Okay. So I'm going to guess that this is your question, so I'm going to give you the answer to it. Keep practicing.
Okay.
But you know what else you can do? Because that's kind of realistic, right? In the sense that we don't always end up with our bodies exactly straight. So scoot your hips one way or the other so that when you're about to throw that kick, it's going to hit the center line with as much power as possible.
And that's part of the center line alignment.
So that's a good question because we never know how we're going to end up, right?
So if you just do this back and forth and do it every day and don't think about it, it won't really correct itself. But if you're doing it and you're really working on the center line principle, you'll find yourself straightening up, you're running more of the course you want to until finally you control that roll.
And give yourself that option to adjust, to take that moment to readjust before you go, because otherwise, if it was a true situation, you miss your center line, you miss your opponent. So you're just throwing a wasted technique. So that's a good point.
I can tell you this from experience, Sensei Rosario. I taught you as a white belt. You didn't forward roll straight either.
Wait. No one does.
I know that, but you asked the question.
That was a trick answer.
So I want to show you real quickly a nasty little knee trap that if you practice this with a classmate, be very, very careful.
Is this a Master Pen moment?
Oh, and then we're going to do 100 ways how to kick somebody in the groin.
Does everybody know what I'm talking about? You've seen the video of Master Pen? Oh, he's hilarious.
I'll come over there. Okay, so it's real simple, but if you think about it, right? She's up here on the side of me for some reason, and I just start a slight roll right here where I catch her leg.
So
And
he's got my back
put that
leg
leg forward
trapped.
so they can see it. Put the leg forward. So if I can catch on to her here and roll it right there, I got her foot trapped under my hip. And now I roll. If she doesn't act quickly enough and I roll fast, I'm gonna tear that knee. And if you don't think so, trust me, I don't like to play with this. I'm just putting, not putting any pressure, and she's like ready to slap out. Now, can she?
It's a lot of pressure on the ankle too.
Can she pull her foot out quickly? Yes, she can pull her foot out quickly. But if I'm here and we're engaged, all of a sudden I just rip into that. If she doesn't fold with it and I catch it, I'm gonna tear it in.
And if, let's say I do get down and he rolls onto my bones, it's not very pleasant. And then he can crawl on top.
And you can do that with this end of the leg, even. You can be way down in here, trap the leg here, and then as you roll into it, so I'm here, and as I roll into that, my body's not lying here anymore. I'm doing it because I don't want to have to control my weight. My body's already up into her leg. And if I catch it just right, my shin's in the back of her, and now I'm gonna spin. And if she ain't ready,
So that's the purpose of the log roll.
I'm gonna tear that knee. So rolling around the ground, just like if you roll into someone who doesn't catch and they're like, look at this fool. And right as they say, look at this fool, you pop into their leg and their knee straightens. If that knee straightens, you're home in time for breakfast.
So before we go to the legs and hands, the kicks and hands, why don't you get a drink? A quick drink. Just because we're not at the actual training camp, we have to remember to hydrate.
If we did the takedowns, you all would be hydrating like crazy right now because you all know what it's like to go up and down off the ground. Hey, Jay. Jay.
Yes, Sensei.
How old are you now?
45.
So you're older than I was when I taught you as a kid.
I know.
Just pointing that
It
out.
goes through my head all the time. And when I'm like, my shoulder hurts, I'm like, oh, I get it. But watching you do a close combat on the ground the whole time, and I'm like, I don't know how you did that without just absolutely brutalizing yourself.
I did brutalize myself.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
The Wolfpack Dojo.
So Master Robert, we have 15 minutes.
We have a training camp there this year, but oh well, next year.
We have 15 minutes.
Yeah, we need it. It's funny you said that because last night in one of the group chats, there was quite a few people that said that they currently had COVID. Some of the students had COVID, and there was quite a few people that said they would have had to pull out of this training camp if we held it because they're all COVID positive.
So we're going to do this really fast, hands and feet, because we want to finish the philosophy, and we thought we'd go round robin just so everybody can say who they are and what school they're at.
Sparkling water. Water.
All right, here we go. So. All right, so if we started standing up, but you can start on your knees and we step back for a sacrifice throw. As we sit down or we throw ourselves into the person, boom, to sacrifice throw. What we're gonna do is we're gonna slide down. We're gonna take them off on an angle with a roundhouse punch.
Now, this little sacrifice throw, the best sacrifice throw, do not fall backwards. They fall underneath the person.
Yeah, you actually nail the person's knee, which
If you
is
do it
great.
really well, you can actually break their
All
leg.
right, here we go, rocking back, kick round behind. You can think of it as a offline thrust kick with a roundhouse punch, because that's pulling them.
That catches inside this leg, and it's angle that way.
And that goes back to throw it, guiding them instead of behind you, to the side of you.
Like if someone's attacked you and you're in an open area, except right here's a light pole. Boom! Hello, light pole.
Okay, so for this next one, we're gonna thrust, X-block here so that the person's coming in. As we hit the hip, we're gonna come bending down. We're gonna launch up to grab each side of their neck and push into choke.
We're gonna gonzo out.
So here we go. So you're gonna thrust kick, chop.
We're gonna do something inside there. If they take advantage of it and we don't beat them, fine. But in the meanwhile, we're gonzoing out. Pow!
And then switch legs. We're gonna do 2 more.
And of course, the advantage of thrusting out with that is you get one side, maybe you get a choke. And especially if they have a gi on.
Okay, and then if you wanted to add, before, it's gonna go crescent kick, roundhouse kick, back fist to come back to your back. Crescent kick, roundhouse kick, back fist, or hammer fist, or in a ridge hand. So the point is the reason we're going through this a little fast, you can reverse crescent, is just so you can see you can pull any kick, any hand technique, and put them together. And then you can start adding up. You can just do punches, round ridge hand,
So your
back
reaction,
fist.
this reaction hand now becomes a push off. So as this reaction hand hits the mat, it pushes off and throws your power out. Whereas a lot of people just try to throw with their arms here. Remember, the reaction hand going into the ground can be used as leverage out. It pushes off the ground for you.
And so the whole point is to build the stomach muscles, right? And so to do that as well, you can do your punches where I'm always focusing on that center line, whether it's a back fist or spear. You can slide in ridge hand. It's always adjusting my body to track that center line. Why is it important? It's important for self-defense because we want to do the right thing as safely as possible. It's for kata so that you can focus in and someone looking at your kata knows you are driving towards your opponent. So it's got a lot of applications to it. And of course, I think it's fun.
So this punch from here, like using your stomach muscles, is nice. But a punch here, as your reaction hand drops in and your stomach muscles, boom, right there, you get that push off.
And that's a little bit in
It's
combat.
a little more power.
All right, so can everybody come off mute? Do you want to sit? You can sit there. All right, so we did fitness, wellness, awareness, assertiveness, openness, fairness,
Directness.
directness. And then these 2 go together, oneness, togetherness. So if you're instructing somebody, each person gets attention as you rep it, but they're all taught together.
So if you worked out with those sensei in the day and you had a 50-person class, which my beginner class had 50 people, you knew you were going to do 50 reps because he'd go in front of each person and check them. Oneness, but he taught us all as a group.
And then the last 2, forgiveness, creativeness. Forgiveness, because we're always going to be in a situation where we hope somebody would forgive us. So we want to make sure we would be willing to forgive them. And creativeness. If we're going to do this our whole lives, we always want to learn from different perspectives. How to teach a lower block, how to do a lower block, snap our heads differently. And so that's what helps us evolve as a style. And that's what helps us grow as students.
If you want to be a long-term sensei, we're now sticking into the 40-year zone. If you don't find forgiveness, and if you don't hope that your student forgives you, you're going to make mistakes, and a student's going to make mistakes. And if you don't find forgiveness in there, you won't last the distance with a good heart. It'll eat away at you. You must find forgiveness both ways. Allow a student to forgive you, and you've got to be able to forgive a student for any of the mishaps. Because if there's no mishaps, you're not trying. You're not trying.
Okay, so real quick, can we go around? We can start with Rohai Dojo. Can you all say who you are, and when you started?
Hi, I'm Jay. I started in 1996, but I took a long break. So I'm back.
He actually started at Wolfpack Dojo.
And hey, I'm Peter. I started here when my children started at Rohai about 10 years ago.
Very cool.
You want to say hi?
Hi, my name is Ty, and I started when I was 4, which is
Wow.
How long ago? Oh, so 6 years. Wow, 6 years. Nice job.
Nice. Okay, how about Joe?
I'm Joe. I'm Evergreen Dojo. I actually started 2 years ago.
Excellent.
Is that right when Joshua moved there?
No, he'd been up here for a few years.
Oh.
It was right after the pandemic started, so we started doing these virtually. He lives in Wisconsin. I actually live in Chicago. We used to actually work together. But yeah, so we started doing these online. That's when I was able to start.
Nice, nice. Sensei Dawn?
Dawn White, I started in 2006 and I am currently without a dojo.
No, you currently are your dojo.
I currently am my dojo. That's true. Yes, I currently am a dojo of one.
UF people? Oh, wait, is that UF?
No, that's UCF.
UCF, sorry.
The 2018 national champions.
I had that shirt.
Very low, very, very low.
Wait, but do it again. We can see what you're saying when used.
Is this better?
Yes.
Okay. I'm Nicole. I started here like 3 or 4 months ago. So I'm excited to learn all about it. It's just a lot of fun so far.
Excellent, excellent. Welcome.
I'm Fiona. I started in September of last year. So yeah.
Awesome.
Cool.
Hi, I'm Gabriel. I started also in September of last year. And really enjoying it. Lots of fun.
Excellent.
I want to keep going.
Excellent.
Hello, my name is Griffin. I started in 2021 and I like sports where you can throw people around and get thrown around, and I want to learn how to defend myself and others.
Excellent.
Good idea.
Excellent.
Everybody?
No, Sensei Rosario.
Oh, there he is.
There you go. I don't need to say my name. It's just said. No, anyways, Sensei Rosario. Rosario Fico. I'm in Clark, New Jersey at Shojin, and I started at Wolfpack 2000-ish, I think it was, somewhere around there. And this is our gym, and we have like 2 other TVs set up. So we had classes going everywhere, so I had to hold these by my ear so I could hear.
That's so awesome.
Very good.
That's really awesome.
So I'm Robert First. I started in 1981 at the Center Dojo. My first senseis were O Sensei and Quinn. And since then, of course, I taught in Boston. We taught in Boca Raton. We taught in Hollywood, Florida, and we opened 2 schools in Raleigh.
My name is Elizabeth Roman. I started January 1981 at Cypress Dojo. Moved to the center, and then moved up here. And we, like Master Robert said, we had a school down in Florida, and then a couple schools up here. And normally this is where we host training camp. So let's hope that next year we can all be in person.
And if we're in person, it's going to be here in Raleigh, North Carolina, because they're begging for us to come back.
Yeah, because of how they really like our style. They really like all the participants, so which is really cool.
And they love the host. But and we all might think about this. These are cards that Sensei Tanner made up. These are our philosophies, and you can take one of these cards out for a class while you're teaching and quickly take a look at it. And if you say, well, how do I get one of those? Contact Sensei Tanner.
Unity Martial Arts.
Unity Martial Arts.
All right, so let's bow out. Turn to your left. Back to the front. So thank you all for participating, and we look forward to doing this with you live one day.
And live is a lot more fun because the applications get real fun. Always remember, leadership in Kung Fu is you. The leadership that guides us is for our reference. You are your own leader. Find that. Aim! Ah! Go! Thank you very much.
Thanks for participating, everyone.